My name is Cheryl Luton, and I am an assistant professor in the School of Education and Psychology at Elizabeth City State University in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. This presentation relates the experiences of novice elementary school teachers teaching reading or mathematics in grades 3, 4, and 5 in the high-stakes testing environment in public schools of northeastern North Carolina. Information gained from this research is meant to serve as a motivation for change regarding the needs of novice teachers. During my 15 years as a classroom teacher, I experienced the pressures of standardized testing in North Carolina public schools. Although my students were mostly successful each year, and I was never in jeopardy of losing my job, I became very aware that others in my school and district were not experiencing the same success, and in some cases were in danger of losing their jobs because of student performance on standardized tests. I left North Carolina Public Schools in 2006 to become a mentor at Western Governors University. In my capacity there, I became an advocate for new teachers while starting a new teacher induction program with the university's new graduates. It was during this time that I realized the experiences of novice teachers in the standardized testing environment was a topic on which we lacked information and a topic that should be studied. The central research question that was addressed in the study was, in a high-stakes testing environment, how did novice teachers experience teaching reading and mathematics in grades 3, 4, and 5? What were the experiences of teachers teaching no more than 2 years in the high-stakes testing environment? How adequate did they feel their training was for what they faced in the classroom? What level of stress, if any, did they experience in preparing their students for standardized tests? And how did they feel about being evaluated based on their performance of their students? The theoretical framework upon which the study was built included Ryan's stages of beginning teachers and McCann and Johannesson's indicators of early teacher attrition. In my opinion, all 8 of the participants in this study had reached the impact stage, which is the final stage in Ryan's stages. They also expressed a strong need for support through mentoring, professional development, administrators, and peers. This theoretical framework provided guidance as I prepared my interview questions, which were a vital part of the research. Through the use of transcendental phenomenology, I worked to achieve EPIC, which involved shedding all preconceived notions about the phenomena. Phenomenological reduction, which required me to continually go back to the phenomena with an open mind. Imaginative variation, through which I searched for underlying themes in the narrative data. And finally, synthesis of meanings or essences. My use of the long interview allowed me to focus on lived experiences of the participants. I utilized the QSR International software and Vivo 8 as my qualitative analysis tool. All the transcripts were uploaded into the program. Themes were identified and coded and moved into notes for further analysis. The information I gathered through my interviews was very interesting. While weaknesses included things like inability to manage time appropriately and differentiating for diverse learners, I was surprised to hear how inadequate some of the participants felt in teaching reading and mathematics, the very subjects which are tested so heavily. When asked how adequately she felt her college classes and field experiences prepared her for the standards-based classroom, and how she might change that preparation for future teacher candidates, Callie replied, "More time student teaching. More time in the classroom. You need it. I don't remember how long you student teach, maybe 3 or 4 months. It's not enough. I think it should be a year long." When asked the same question, Alyssa replied, "Wow, that's a loaded question. I don't think I was adequately prepared by my college classes. Student teaching helped a lot, but I still don't think that I was prepared for my first year of teaching. We heard about the standard course of study and all of that, but I don't think the training was practical. We would be told to write a lesson plan for the 4th grade today, and we didn't know anything about the curriculum. We just had to pull things out of the air and fit the course of study around it. I don't know if there's any practical way to change that, a longer student teaching, maybe more time in the classroom. I don't know." Still another participant, Carrie, explained that she had written hundreds of lesson plans during her classroom experience at the university, only to find them useless in the real classroom. Her recommendation was also to have a longer student teaching experience and mentoring by a qualified teacher. Participants were asked to describe their greatest strengths and weaknesses as new teachers teaching mathematics and reading. One participant, Callie, explained her daily struggle with teaching mathematics using a new curriculum and textbook that had been recently adopted by her school district. I found it disturbing that she is having such a difficult time with mathematics, as it's one of 3 areas of the curriculum tested at the end of each year. Alyssa's biggest weakness was in teaching reading in a way that addressed the needs of all of her students, from those who have an individualized education plan and are identified as having special needs, to those who are identified as being academically gifted and need to be challenged in different ways. Reading is the most important subject taught in elementary school classrooms, as understanding the content in social studies, science, and even mathematics is dependent upon the student's ability to read. How many other teachers are struggling to teach reading and mathematics in these high-stakes testing environments? One thing that all 8 of the participants in this study agreed upon was that student success should be measured in growth, not their test scores. Throughout the interviews, teachers shared the importance of recognizing that student achievement should be measured with multiple assessment strategies, and that one standardized test does not indicate student success. Dana's story described her feelings about students who had worked very hard, showed tremendous growth on their end-of-grade test, but still did not receive what the state considered a passing score. She shared the heartbreak of having to tell the students and their parents that they did not pass the test. To Dana, success was not about test scores, but about effort and growth. An area in which the participants were extremely candid was in discussing their comfort levels with the state standards and end-of-grade tests. When appropriate, participants were given a follow-up question to obtain information about their stress levels involving the testing. All of the participants expressed feeling stressed, while some admitted feeling extremely stressed with regards to testing. Alyssa explained how she was in fear of losing her position if her students didn't perform adequately. She knew of teachers whose positions were lost because they were not successful in getting students to perform successfully on end-of-grade tests, and that caused her to feel stressful regarding her own position. Callie's lengthy answer to the question about her comfort with the standards and tests was very interesting. She described a feeling of treading water and feeling very stressed about the impending test. Our interview took place in the first month of the school year, and she was already feeling very stressed, and in fact she appeared very nervous and expressed that she did not want to think about it. Another finding agreed upon by all 8 participants was that new teacher support by administrators, colleagues, and professional development is a vital key to the success of new teachers. While most felt a high level of support from these sources, one participant stood out as feeling terribly unsupported by her principal and colleagues. She felt that this lack of support had caused her to have an enormous amount of stress, and she was unhappy in her first year of teaching. As a researcher, I wondered if this teacher would soon be looking for another career. How different might her experiences have been with a supportive principal and helpful colleagues? Interviews with the 8 participants also revealed that the pressure for student performance on tested subjects caused them to teach to the test, leaving out areas of the curriculum which were not tested. These teachers knew this practice was not appropriate and shared their disappointment about not being able to include important studies because of the push to spend more time in the tested areas of the curriculum. When asked how adequately they felt their college or university programs had prepared them for the standards-based classroom, only 2 out of the 8 felt they had been adequately prepared. This could mean their teacher preparation programs need to be reconsidered in order to better prepare teachers for their classrooms. North Carolina's Department of Public Instruction is currently mandating a revisioning of the college and university teacher education programs to provide more adequate training for teacher candidates. This study involved participants from 3 counties in northeastern North Carolina. Their similar views regarding the pressures of end-of-grade testing might mean that novice teachers in other areas of the state and country feel this way too. At any rate, the results of the study should merit further investigation so that policymakers will have adequate evidence to make necessary changes. Clearly, standardized testing can have an effect on what and how teachers teach. They are held to a high degree of accountability for student scores, which compels them to spend more time teaching the tested subject. In his October 2009 speech at Columbia University, Secretary of Education Arne Duncan shared that America's university-based teacher preparation programs need revolutionary change, not evolutionary tinkering. Even novice teachers in this study seemed keenly aware that multiple measures of assessment would present a more accurate picture of student achievement than a single standardized test. The further study of effective assessment practices should be considered in order to provide legislators or policymakers needed data to make the changes. While my study did not answer the question of whether or not there is a direct connection between new teacher attrition and preparedness, support, or pressure to perform on standardized testing, I believe there is a need for further study. In my opinion, the high levels of stress reported by some of the teachers in this study in reference to North Carolina end-of-grade tests and student performance presents a cause for concern for teacher retention.